They jumped him. They beat him so bad that his fingers fell off. They chopped him up with an axe, tried to feed him to the hogs, and whatever the hogs didn't eat, they threw the rest of them into the river a few weeks ago.
What do you get when you mix a murky underground gang scene with a police department who turns a blind eye? You end up with two vanished men, evidence that at least one of them has been murdered, and an interesting cast of locals who can't seem to get their stories straight. When we spoke directly with the daughter of a man missing since July, and a woman who has been on the front lines searching for clues, we could never have guessed the dark and depraved paths this case would follow. What is up, Iwu crew? It's no secret that dark and unspoken activities exist within the seedy underbellies of small towns across America. There are certain areas with notoriously dangerous reputations, and most of us try to keep our noses out of trouble that brews in these places. But what happens when people start going missing without a trace? What happens when it becomes clear that insidious groups are carrying out unspeakable acts of violence and picking citizens off with reckless abandon, knowing that the local police won't do anything to stop them? Sometimes it takes an unlikely hero stepping up and risking everything to uncover the truth and dig up crucial evidence to finally bring justice to these forgotten cases. But even so, if authorities refuse to listen to the facts and investigate, what can be done then? In August of 2020, news outlets began spreading the word of a missing 42-year-old father named Raymond Willis. Raymond lived in Pike County, Ohio, with his girlfriend at the time. His loving daughter, Tania, said Raymond was like her best friend. A viewer wrote to us, bringing our attention to this disappearance, asking us to look deeper into this case and spread awareness of Raymond's story, saying that she knew of key details that had never been released to the public. But when she shared her information, it quickly became apparent that what we had thought was a missing persons case is almost certainly a horrific murder, covered up by its perpetrators and pushed under the rug by the police force tasked with solving it. The woman who wrote to us was Kelsey, a self-proclaimed freelance missing persons advocate. She explained that she's helped to solve multiple cases throughout her pro bono mission because she has a knack for getting the important information out of people that they wouldn't necessarily leak to police.
I run probably 26 missing people groups. So I just try to help families and get information because people love to talk to me. So I can basically get anything out of anybody. Since I've been working on Raymond's case alone, I've helped solve 3 other murders. And it's just like, if only I could find his body. If only I've stayed up crying about this man. I don't even know him. He's from my city, but I've never met him before. I actually know some of his family members. They actually come to my house a lot. And it just really hit home for me to see that Cincinnati police weren't doing anything to try to pressure Pike County to, hey, we're watching, can you do something here? Like, you haven't round up one witness to talk to anybody.
In her initial message, she wrote, "We desperately need your help getting Raymond Willis' story out." A quick Google search of this case pulls up a news appearance from Tania, where she explains that her father, whom everyone called by the nickname Frog, had been excited to attend her upcoming wedding in August. But 1 month before Tania was set to walk down the aisle, Raymond disappeared without a trace. Wishing to learn more about Raymond, we spoke to Tania so she might help us understand.
My dad's name, my father, of course, his name is Raymond Willis. He grew up in the Cincinnati area. My dad's nickname is Frog. I met my dad when I was 13 years old. All my life, I wished on my birthday cake to meet my dad, and I finally met him when I was 14 years old, and it was the best experience of my life. My dad was my best friend. He was so smart. He always made things happen when there wasn't a way. Sorry. My dad was a helper. He saved people. He saved my grandma and my grandfather's life before. They were older, they were taking their medicine, and he had overdosed on their medicine by accident, and he came in the house and he saved their life. Out of, my dad, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 girls. Sorry. Out of this whole, case, my dad, he stayed on the west side for a while, in the Hilltop area here in Columbus, Ohio. Then he slowly kind of migrated to Waverly, Ohio, Chillicothe area. Before my dad moved, he wasn't really into doing a lot of drugs, He may have done some minors, but when my dad reached down in Waverly, his whole life changed. When he got down there, he was different. I didn't like it. I stopped seeing him for a while. I kind of distanced myself from him because of his habit. So my dad, he went to jail for a while down there, and he got out and he got back on his feet, didn't kick that bad habit. He was getting back to his old self, and we were talking a lot. Even when, he was going through his habit, I was still talking to him. I just didn't like going down there to see him. I just didn't like that area. Something about that area, I never liked it. So, he got out of jail, getting his life back together. Everything was good. The last conversation I had with my dad, he told me he would be in my wedding, and he told me that he was getting married. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to do everything. I'm make sure I'm not talking too much, trying to get everything out. I'm sorry.
Tania paints a picture of Raymond as a father and son, someone who was putting his life back together all before he vanished. But those close to the case insist that it isn't a simple disappearance, but a murder. Tania said there wasn't a soul who didn't have a kind word to say about her father, even those who she thinks played a direct role in his murder.
My dad wasn't perfect, but he definitely was a good guy. Even, after this case, just asking people, trying to get stories out of people as to what happened, I haven't had one person say, Frog was a bad guy, or, everybody I've talked to that had something to do with the murder still insisted my dad was a great guy.
Tania, who was living in Columbus and not with Raymond at the time, and presumably didn't speak with him every day, didn't immediately assume the worst. She grew increasingly concerned as the days ticked by with no sign from her father. We were curious to know if they spoke over the phone or through text on a regular basis, and asked Tania how she found out that Raymond was missing.
Yeah, so typically he takes a while to respond. I know, my dad, he's busy. He's not a phone talker. He'd be like, oh, you're talking my head off. So, we write every now and again, through Facebook and stuff. It was at least once a week or every 2 weeks. It wasn't too long. But when I found out my dad went missing, me and my husband, we went down to Cincinnati to go visit my sister on my dad's side. We actually went down there to the 4th of July. Was it the 4th or the 3rd? I believe it was the 4th of July. We went down there, and me and my sister were blowing my dad up because we're no, he's going to be so happy to know we're together. We're calling him, and he's not answering. So, we're okay. And she told me, he just wrote me the night before. He didn't sound too okay. But, at that point, no one's thinking, he's missing and he's hurt, because my dad could go days without, talking to you and then just hit you up hey, I'm sorry, I was, doing this, bad service or whatnot. And so once it had gotten to be, what was it, a week or more, and no one has talked to him. We're asking all the friends and family. No one has seen him. We're okay, this is weird. So I get in touch with, we get in touch with some of his friends down there in Waverly. One of his good friends' name is Corey. And she calls me, and we're talking, and she's yeah, I don't know what's going on, but he didn't call me on my birthday. He never not calls me on my birthday. He always calls me, and,
Hearing that an entire week had allegedly passed before anyone reported his disappearance was very surprising. Tania, we could understand, as perhaps she assumed her father was just too busy to answer her calls or texts. However, we were confused as to why Raymond's loved ones, specifically his girlfriend, whom he was said to live with, had taken so long to report him missing. We asked Kelsey what she knew about this strange detail.
So Connie Young, his girlfriend, is actually the one that made the missing report. I asked her, I said, why does this report say that you last seen him on the 9th? When you told me you guys got that from Myrtle Beach, July 3rd, and July 4th is when he went missing. July 4th is supposedly when everything happened. I said, so why does it say July 9th? She said, I never told the police about July 9th. And the missing report is blank. And they had him listed as a runaway. How do you have the same county have a statement saying he's dead, but you also have a runaway statement saying that a missing person report saying that he's a runaway? And it's crazy because I'm like, why is this missing report blank? It doesn't have that he was last seen on Watson Road. It doesn't have that he was last seen with Sean and Melissa Barker. None of that is on the missing statement at all, and I'm just mind-blown. And I'm keep asking her. She's like, I don't know. I put it down, and they didn't fill it out. I don't know what happened, but I know I told them everything, and they didn't put it in there.
Interestingly, Tania had a differing perspective from Kelsey on Raymond's then-girlfriend, Connie, waiting about a week to report Raymond missing. Kelsey seemed to believe Connie's claim that the police had gotten her reported dates wrong, while Tania wasn't so sure she believed Connie after all.
She tried to say that he left and went to the store, never came back or something. It was very odd. But then she told the police that she hadn't seen him since June 22nd, but we have proof that she did see him after that. But then she said she never told the police that. The police are lying. And you know what? I talked to Connie. And like I said, she tried to say she never told the police that. But what's crazy is that it sounds like she did kind of try to say that to cover up herself, because June 22nd was my sister Brittany's wife's birthday, and they were down there to see Connie and my dad. And they stayed down there for a couple of days after the birthday, and everything was perfectly fine. You know what I mean? So how could you have seen him June 22nd, the last day, and there's proof that you were there, you seen him on the fly before he even was murdered? It's all crazy, but it's like we can't get it solved because she said she never said that. I mean, at what point do we put her and the officers in the room to prove who said what? You know, it's like, it's never a proof. It's always hearsay, she say. We never get anything solved.
Despite Tania and Kelsey's belief that he was murdered, the investigation into what happened to Raymond hasn't been fruitful. Tania wanted to get to the bottom of her father's disappearance and possible murder. But it was obvious that the police weren't going to be much help. She explained how she eventually got in contact with Kelsey, and together they have been pursuing every lead they can find.
Kelsey, I actually posted on Facebook. See, my grandpa, everyone was telling me, don't post on Facebook, keep it a secret, but no one was giving me any information. And, the police wasn't doing anything. So I'm like, I'm going to post this out there so people will start talking. So I posted it on Facebook, and I got so many responses, so much help. I met Kelsey and Khadijah. I got so much help. If it wasn't for Kelsey and Khadijah, I wouldn't even have gotten to where I'm in today with the case. I wouldn't have been able to talk to the prosecutors. All the emails, all the late nights, all the hard work, she did that. They did that.
There are many theories surrounding this case, some convoluted and contradictory, and we will explore each further as the case unfolds. One of the initial theories put forth about Raymond's disappearance was that he could still be alive, but that he had taken drugs and had some sort of reaction, causing him to run off into the woods. In Tania's news appearance, she commented on the bizarre rumor that she had heard circulating about her father's disappearance.
Someone's trying to say that my dad is in these woods. I don't know why everyone keeps saying my dad ran into these woods. It just doesn't sound like my dad's run into woods. I don't know.
Because the police weren't investigating, Tania and Kelsey soon took matters into their own hands. But before we go any further into Tania and Kelsey's investigation, it's important to go back to the news segment, as it details a possible connection relevant to Raymond's case. The Pike County Sheriff, Jim Nelson, weighed into the case of Raymont's disappearance with some startling intel, that it was possibly connected to a disappearance of another local man.
He has been reported as missing. At about the same time, there was also a Mr. Roush that had been missing too.
The Pike County Sheriff says his office is investigating a possible connection between Raymont's disappearance and another man named Kobe Roush.
To make things even stranger, the police actually had a prime person of interest suspected to be behind the coinciding disappearances of Raymont and 24-year-old Kobe Roush. But according to Sheriff Nelson, that lead was abruptly cut short.
Sheriff Nelson says there had been a person of interest they wanted to interview for both cases.
He was pretty much avoiding us, and he was in Ross County, just across our line a few miles, and OD'd.
The person of interest is now dead, and the sheriff says many of the other potential witnesses aren't helpful.
We were intrigued to know who the mysterious person of interest could be, and we thought he must hold the key to solving this case. Luckily, Kelsey knew quite a bit about this suspicious man, and it was by following this trail that Kelsey and Tania were led to believe that Raymont had been murdered, despite what the police were publicly stating. Kelsey told us they were referring to a man by the name of Luke Farmer. Kelsey explained that Kobe went missing around the same time as Raymont, one of the factors that led to their cases being investigated in conjunction. And that's when the conversation took a dark turn. She told us that there was a police statement tying all three men together. Kelsey said, the police statement says Luke killed Raymont and Kobe, explaining, we even have a police report stating Luke Farmer admitted to killing Raymont and another missing man, Kobe Roush. Luke died the next day after the police statement was written. There hasn't been one search conducted to find these men.
The police statement was written July 20th, stating that Luke Farmer admitted to John Burton, with his step-uncle, that he had killed Raymont and Kobe Roush, another missing man that were missing July 6th. The problem with that is Luke Farmer died the next very day, July 21st. Isn't that a coincidence? They said he died of an overdose, but I saw 4 people that was there when he died, and it was not an overdose. He was given a hot shot.
To find out more, Kelsey spoke with Luke Farmer's step-uncle, John Burton, about Luke's alleged confession to killing both Kobe and Raymont. And she found that his response made no sense.
But it's crazy because the statement says that Luke admitted to killing both of them. Now, John Burton, I've talked to him on the phone several times. I can send you some screenshots that I got from him, too. He's basically saying that Kobe told him that he fed one body to the hogs and he put the other body in a wood chipper. And I'm like, how did he melt the gun down and I have a picture of the gun? That doesn't make any sense. And he's telling me that the pink gun that I have a picture of isn't the gun that he used. It was the black 22. And he's like, I said, so where did he say that he killed them at? And he said he killed them about 20 feet from Raymont's house. Raymont lives with him. It was his girlfriend, Connie Young, her daughter, Libby Brushhart, her boyfriend, Richard Brushhart, and their son, plus her other grandkid. You mean to tell me that you shot this man in front of his house and nobody said anything about it?
We could have never predicted one horrifying detail Kelsey had discovered. Brace yourself for what comes next, because it is shocking and gruesome. Kelsey explained, we have several videos and recordings about how he was killed and chopped to pieces.
And there's this lady named says that she was there when Raymont died, and that supposedly there's a video of him being chopped up into pieces, and he was alive when they cut his arms off. That's what she said. It is crazy because it's one or two places, and that means that it's either this set of group of people or this set of group of people. But they don't like each other, so one is blaming the other one, but they're really responsible. And the problem is just weeding out the lies and trying to figure out the truth. And I really believe the police statement makes me believe that maybe Luke Farmer really did kill them, but all this other evidence makes me think that it was somebody totally different, and they just knew that they were going to kill Luke, so they blamed it on him.
Tania seemed to align with this particular theory, although her understanding contained some even more shocking elements. She explained her own theory based on the rumors she's heard, saying,
So out of hearing everyone's story, this is the conclusion we came up with. I'm going to say a name. I don't know if you could blur this out or not, but Luke Farmer, he's on the paperwork. He admitted to killing my dad. He admitted to that to his uncle, John Burton. And so Luke Farmer was my dad's cellmate. Luke was shot up with a hot shot, which is bad heroin. They told Luke that if he did not kill my dad, then they were going to kill him. Luke and my dad were friends, so they're in the woods. Luke shot my dad, knowing he wasn't going to kill him because Luke has a straight shot. Luke has been training with guns since he was a kid. He knew exactly where to shoot him to kill him and exactly where to shoot him not to kill him. He shot him in a place that didn't kill my dad. My dad got up and tried to run. Luke and I want to say there was someone else there. They chased him basically out of the woods, put him back into the truck. Once my dad got back into the truck, they drove him to the body shop where Steph and all his friends that he was friends with for 20 years, it goes from arranged to, where there's a lot of white guys, and it goes to arranged to black guys that came from, his childhood. Literally 10 or 11 people ganged up on my dad, supposedly for $8,000 that he had in his pocket. They jumped him. They beat him so bad that his fingers fell off. They chopped him up with an axe. They stuck him in a blue barrel for a while until they realized we were looking for him and we wasn't stopping. They put lime on him, but he started to smell. So then they took him out that blue barrel, tried to feed him to the hogs, and whatever the hogs didn't eat, they threw the rest of them into the river a few weeks ago.
After hearing this chilling account, we just couldn't fathom how this all wasn't being investigated by officials. Though there appeared to be an alleged police report stating clearly that Raymond and Kobe were killed by Luke, the police didn't appear to be trying to find evidence to prove this theory, nor were they attempting to explain why Luke may have killed both men. Only Kelsey and Tania had found these connections.
The police down there, they worked with them, so it's like they say that they went and looked for a body, but they really didn't. I mean, if you guys go look exactly an hour after they throw it in there, and you guys got, the fire department and everything, you guys didn't find anything? At what point do you get scuba divers who are looking for a body? You know what I mean? At what point do you take it to the extent when you're looking for a body?
Local rumors have been circulating that Raymond's remains can be found underneath a specific trailer in the town. Although, because police have not looked into this lead, it cannot be verified. Kelsey believes the theory that gang activity was involved in the disappearances and alleged deaths of Raymond and Kobe, just as Tania mentioned, and that violence had sprung up from an altercation between members. But the timeline that Kelsey had to piece together wasn't so straightforward. She wrote, "We are getting conflicting stories as of why a few people said this was Kobe's initiation, and he was given the task to kill Raymond and couldn't do it, so they killed him also." Trying to piece together what had happened, we looked into Kobe Rausch and discovered that he had been reported missing from Jackson County on July 6, 2020, just 2 days after Raymond reportedly went missing on July 4th. Kobe's family grew worried when they didn't hear from him, and his sister, Danielle Dyer, was reportedly worried sick over her belief that foul play may have been involved in her brother's disappearance. She reported that Kobe was last seen at a party in Colton on July 6th. According to a report by The Telegram, Kobe had placed a call to his father that same day, but after that, any communication on his end went completely silent. With no leads to follow, Kobe's loved ones were stumped and confused, but they soon received a heart-dropping update. Kobe's abandoned 2014 Chrysler car had been discovered near Gallipolis. Inside was his wallet, emptied of all its cash, and a pendant containing his mother's ashes. Dyer said her brother cherished that necklace deeply and was never seen without it, leading her to believe he wouldn't have purposefully left it behind. Interestingly, authorities were unable to locate Kobe's missing cell phone during their search of the vacated vehicle, and all calls made to it by concerned relatives have remained unanswered. The article detailing his disappearance gave us a solid background of that ongoing investigation, but it had failed to mention one very important detail about Kobe's history. Published by the Perry County Tribune, a cautionary article reads, "A message is beginning to be heard by drug dealers and those using drugs in the village of Junction City." It laid out the events of April 6, 2017, when a then 21-year-old Kobe Rausch and a 41-year-old accomplice by the name of Randy Dupler both met a rude awakening at the hands of local sheriff's deputies, the Central Ohio Drug Enforcement Task Force, and officers from the Junction City Police Department. The big three organizations had sniffed out something fishy at a residence in the area, having received numerous complaints from neighboring citizens about the possibility of drug activity taking place there. When a search warrant was obtained, they scoured the building and were met with a goldmine of evidence, seizing drugs and drug paraphernalia. It is unclear if this home had belonged to Kobe or if he had just been visiting, but regardless, the implicating evidence was more than enough cause for his and Dupler's arrests. In addition to the valuable information this report gave us about Kobe's likely connection with the shady underground scene of this Ohio area, it also illuminated the truly questionable state of affairs in the town, corroborating Kelsey's claims that the territory surrounding Raymond and Kobe's disappearances was rife with illegal activity. The same article had mentioned that this was a second search warrant within the span of just weeks being carried out by law enforcement in Junction City. The article read, "Law enforcement and the Code Task Force are taking a special interest in the drug problem that is plaguing Junction City after the Junction City PD and the Junction City Community Watch Group have experienced increased problems relating to the use and sale of methamphetamine in the village." You see, Kobe was living in the town of Waverly at the time of his disappearance in 2020, a place just minutes from Pike County, where Raymond was located. Junction City is about an hour-and-a-half drive from this smaller area, and this swath of Ohio, just under Columbus, seems to run rampant with shady characters. It's full of bad areas that you probably wouldn't want to find yourself alone on a dark night. It's hard to imagine the complex secrets of the people who live here, but we don't have to imagine, because Kelsey, who lives hours away in Cincinnati, took it upon herself to drive to this criminal hotbed and investigate for herself. She has graciously provided us with never-before-seen evidence that points to a dark fate for Raymond. Evidence that she has tried time and time again to show to local police, who have stated that they didn't have any, quote, concrete proof that Raymond was dead. All of Kelsey's evidence has been ignored by the police.
I do want the public to know that our family has received plenty of tips that my dad has been murdered. There is a lot of anonymous stories that my dad's body is out here somewhere.
In Pike County, Angela Ingram, Local 12 News.
Well, the sheriff says at this point they don't have any concrete proof of whether Willis is alive or deceased.
Tania echoed many of Kelsey's observations about this sketchy area when we spoke with her. Having also visited, Tania too felt the suspicious and malevolent gaze of many eyes upon her back.
Oh, yeah, we went down there. I had to meet up with his ex-girlfriend, the lady that he thought he was marrying, but I had to go meet up and get his clothes from her house. We went down there. It was just literally everyone who had something to do with it was at her house. Yeah, so it was just weird. So we went to the house, we got everything, and there's like people coming. So like, there was supposed to be a guy who wore a wire who's actually my dad's ex-girlfriend's daughter's boyfriend, if you get what I'm saying. He was supposed to have wore a wire on my dad. Got him all set up for the police to hit the house and all that good stuff. He was there. It was just odd. Everybody was just kind of like a big family chilling around. I don't know if they expected me to like come by myself, but I did come with me, my husband, Khadijah, and Adrian, and we came pretty tight, and we were, concealed to carry. We don't know what's going on down there, and it was very weird. It was very strange. It felt unease. It felt like there was something they were hiding. I don't know. It was very, very uneasy. It's definitely a place I wouldn't go by myself. So when I left Connie's house, when we had left Connie's house that day to go get my dad's items, as soon as we pulled off, there's like 2 cars that started following us. And at first we're thinking, okay, maybe we're on the same road. But these roads are literally so dead. There's hardly anybody down there. There's no way these many cars are coming out of nowhere and following. We haven't seen these many cars behind us since we've been here the whole time. Now we go to leave, and, there's cars following us. And they're following us, and Kelsey, she hops out the car. She's like, no, they following us. Stop it. They following us. We turn around, and it's Connie's daughter. My dad's, ex-girlfriend, her daughter, following us. The girl I just seen in the house, Libby. I just seen her in the house. And I walked up to her. I said, your name Libby? I said your name Ashley because I thought she was Ashley. I said, your name Ashley? She said, no, I'm Libby. I said, oh, okay. I looked her dead in the face, and when I seen her following us, I was like, wow. It got to the point where I'm like seriously like loading my gun in the front seat in case I have to have a shootout with someone because that's how weird it was. And then as soon as we get by the police station to where we start having phone service, because you have no phone service out there unless you're by the police station. There's no phone service anywhere, which also doesn't make sense as to why my dad would throw his phone in the woods when there's no service anyways, but that's neither here or there. But we get all the way to where we get phone service again, and they automatically split and stop following us. It was very crazy. It's like as soon as our phone said we got service, they just split and left. It's very scary. I'm not scared, honestly, because I'm a firm believer in God. You know what I mean? So I'm not scared, but it is a scary situation. A lot of people don't even want to deal with the case because they feel like it's a little too much and they could die. A lot of people that was friends of my dad don't even want to talk about what happened because they know that they could lose their life at any time.
One intriguing piece of footage that Kelsey collected during her investigation was a video in which she spoke to 2 people who appear to be at the center of this case.
Now, the last 2 people that were with Raymond are their husband and wife. Their name is Sean and Melissa Barker. And I actually seen them when we went up there to look for him. We were followed by... We were threatened several times. So basically when we went up there, I had a list of places that I wanted to go check. I didn't know where we were, but I knew where we wanted to go. So I had these addresses that I wanted to check. A couple of them was Raymond's old house. And him and Sean and Melissa Barker actually caught some dope cases at this address, so I wanted to go there. So I went there, Lord and behold, there's bullet holes all over the window. There's bullet holes in the window, around the window, everywhere. So I took pictures of it because it was just so crazy to me. So, and Raymond's old car is still sitting across the street. So when we go to the sawmill, I wanted to go to the sawmill that works at because his name had been brought up. And as soon as we go to the sawmill, Sean and Melissa Barker are there, and I instantly start recording my phone. And I'm like, where's Raymond at? Oh, well, he said he was running for his life, and he said somebody wanted to kill him, but the person that wanted to kill him wasn't here, but they wanted him dead, so he was running for his life. Why was he running for his life if the people that wanted to kill him was not there? That makes no sense. Like, I walked away from her husband because he's like, Frog ain't dead. He's been on Facebook. No. Someone has his phone, and they're answering his child's calls saying that they've had that number for 1.5 years. And I even went to the phone store down there where he bought his phone at to try to see if they could see, like, who switched the phone number and if they actually put it in someone else's name also. And he basically told me that if someone switched that number, they don't even do it in store. They have to do it over the phone, so they wouldn't even be able to tell me. You can only change your number over the phone.
How y'all doing? We're looking for Raymond. We was just wondering if anybody knew anything about Raymond being missing. So, do you know where he jumped in the woods at?
Kelsey explained this footage, saying, "This is Sean and Melissa Barker. They were the last two with Raymond." Listen closely as the two speak with Kelsey and share their versions of what happened in Raymond's last documented moments. Though the accounts they share are dubious at best, they help to build another layer of this complex case.
Bro's not dead, man.
Where's he at? Anybody have any idea?
They saying he.
I'm telling you, I know Frog, man. I've been around Frog.
They want to tell stories on here, showing about Frog and cut up and that's
But you know what? Is running their mouth, running their.
So why are they saying that Luke and them killed him? Luke and
Farmer didn't even know him, man. That's kind of.
oh, he did. He's his friends on Facebook. They know each other.
But is just running her mouth.
No, Luke Farmer signed a statement the day before he died saying that he killed him. No, he did not. He was given a hot shot with him. He was killed.
Sean repeatedly insists that Luke Farmer and Frog, or Raymond, didn't know each other. But Kelsey did her research and she's not having it. She pushes on, trying to get more info out of Sean.
My thing is this. Y'all was the last two people to see him alive, so y'all gotta see him. Y'all gotta know.
Well, my thing is, he's been active on Facebook several times.
Since when?
It was about 8 or 10 days after he was gone, he was active on Facebook.
You got a Facebook page?
Yeah, he got a Facebook page, but he...
Typing nothing on or anything, but they said he was on it.
Tired of going back and forth in the argument with Sean, Kelsey makes her way over to a nearby truck where Melissa Barker is waiting.
I'm done talking to his line now. Hi, baby. Miss Melissa? Miss Melissa? How you doing? How you doing? We just trying to find Frog. We was just wondering if you knew at the last location we could look at.
up there by the farm. That's where he was at.
So he just wandered into the woods?
Yeah, and he told me that if he didn't catch a ride with Sean, he caught a ride with someone else.
So was y'all arguing or something? So why was he talking about getting another ride?
Because he needed to get out of there.
Out of where?
Out of wherever he was at.
Where
he was scared someone was going to get him.
Where y'all pick him up from?
He chased us down the road. We were coming down Watson Road, and he was with Jenny and, I forget his name, her husband. And he pulled
Who's
right
Jenny?
Up. They live up there in Watson Road.
Can you show us so we can go look down there?
Well, you know where the cow farm is? Right across the road is where he went into the woods right there. And then right behind there is where Buster lives back there, him and his mom, but they haven't seen him. I've walked that hillside every single day. I don't know where he's at.
Do you know that Luke Farmer signed a signed confession saying that him and them killed him? They said that so basically they're saying that they wanted Luke to kill him. Luke shot him and he couldn't kill him.
Melissa continues to assert that Raymond was out of his head with fear due to someone allegedly having a bounty on his head. But her timeline is a bit hard to follow. And when Kelsey asks questions as to why Raymond was acting in ways that just don't make sense, Melissa simply replies that she doesn't know.
So I thought maybe if we came and talked to y'all, because I wrote you on Facebook, and I thought maybe if we came and talked to y'all in person, like I didn't know if y'all was scared of whoever was chasing. Who mentioned a red truck was chasing him down?
Oh, I didn't.
So who house did he left? Their house?
He was with us.
But you said he ran down the street after y'all because he was scared of them?
No, listen. He got into the truck, and he was like, I got to get out of here. I said, okay. So I said, just hold on a minute. So we went down there. He said, Sean, I got Connie. He had Connie's license. He said, I need for you to take Connie's license to Gus's wife so she could give him to Brittany, which is Connie's daughter, Brittany, and let her know that I didn't take him on purpose.
Right.
And Sean left, and took them down to Gus's. Well, during that time, it was just me and Frog at the farm there waiting for him to come back. By the time that Sean got back, Frog had done, like, he was so out of his head, like, scared to death someone was going to hurt him.
So who was he scared
He had
of?
a bounty on his head.
Who, baby?
He told me that Doodoo had a
Who is Doodoo?
Jay.
Who's...
I don't know who Jay.
So were they there? Is that why?
No, they weren't. They weren't there, and they had. They weren't there, and whenever he came with us, I don't know why he thought that they were going to come and get him. They said that he was a snitch.
Who's Boo Boo Jay?
Doodoo.
Doodoo Jay. He said Doodoo had a bounty on his head, and he was scared that Doodoo was going to do something.
And
so
then
they said he
also,
was down there at the farm.
He was also
across the
telling
street
us
from
crazy
the farm.
stuff about Stefan above too. There's something like he didn't trust none of them. None of them.
Did he
That's
have
why
money
he
on
came to
him?
see Sean. No, he had $70 in his pocket. He had on a white T-shirt, a pair of blue jeans, and his blue and white Snickers. And I drove by there every single day. We drive by there every day, and I stop. We blow the horn.
So y'all didn't see nobody in the red truck chasing?
Because by the time that Sean got back and we went up on the hill, he was done gone.
So was there?
No.
So
I
who
didn't
was
see
he?
any of them. That's the first time I heard that.
So he was initially down there across the street from the farm, and he was scared of them, so he waved y'all down.
And he went up.
So why he didn't just get in the car with y'all and leave? Why he stay there?
I don't know. He went up into the woods, and by the time Sean got back, I went up there, and I said, Frog, it's okay, come on, back down here. He wouldn't answer me. And I said, Frog, listen. I said, it's okay, you can come on out. I said, we're going to take you. I got somewhere I can take you.
Kelsey tries time and time again to get Melissa to lead her to the exact location where she last saw Raymond. But the woman seems reluctant to give more than a fairly vague description of the spot.
Yes, and
can y'all show us so we can go up there and look for him, please?
Yeah, it's right directly across from the cow farm.
Where we just
at?
I'm going in there.
It's directly. Listen to me.
I want you to pinpoint exactly where you seen him walk at, so we don't get.
There's a bunch of dump trucks right there. Okay, right there, parked right there. The cow farmer knows what's up. He's cool with all of that. He went in right across the street.
It's hard to understand why Melissa and Sean didn't want to take a few minutes to point out the location to Kelsey for her to investigate, especially since Melissa put so much emphasis on the fact that they drove by the spot every day to honk the horn and look out for any signs of Raymond. And then, another woman joins the scene, saying what sounds like, "Melissa, you know this ain't right. It ain't like Frog to do this." But then, Melissa continues to emphasize how paranoid and strange Raymond had been acting.
Right up on there's the top of the woods. We ain't like beg to do this. I know, and I don't know. I mean, you should see that day he was with girl.
So did somebody follow him in the woods?
Huh?
Did somebody follow him in the woods?
Nobody was there. It was just me and him. And he took off, so I went up to the top of the driveway because I had my phone. And he says, "Melissa, don't do that. They'll see you."
Who will?
I don't know.
Was he high or was?
Yes, and he would see. He was hearing voices, and he was scared to death something was going to...
So you just left him when he walked in the woods?
No, I went up in there. He was gone that quick. Like, he went up in there. I went down to the back of the car. He told me, don't do that. So I turned around and I walked back down the driveway. By the time that I walked back up to the driveway, he was gone.
About how many minutes you say?
I'd say not even 30 minutes. I stood right there alone and I listened and listened.
Sean comes to back up Melissa's claims that Frog is safe and sound, and that his Facebook activity is proof of that. Kelsey is entirely unconvinced, and she tries to poke holes in their story using data she had collected from the police report.
Why you ain't called the police?
Because I seen that he was on Facebook. Someone had locked, whoever's putting on Facebook on his account either has his account or it's him. I really don't think nothing bad has happened to it. I just think that he is somewhere where I'm telling you, he's scared to death. They said he was a snitch and everything else. He said that he barely made it out of South Carolina alive. He said that he didn't think he was going to make it back here. When he went to South Carolina, when he went to Myrtle Beach, he only went there for 8 hours and came back because he was scared to death down there.
Yeah, nobody knew they was there. He was
He was like, and then that's the reason why we didn't call the police because
he was high.
Yeah.
Well, no,
y'all ain't think maybe he died in the woods?
No, because I've been. Trust me, I've been through there. If he's in there,
I ain't been the first.
No way he could. No, he is not up there.
Yeah,
I promise you. I've seen it.
I worked there.
Do you remember what day that was?
July 4th. Yeah.
4th of July.
So the police raided his house to fish. So how was that the 4th?
No, they didn't raid his house. They raided his house.
They raided his house.
I seen the paperwork. It was the 5th. I talked to the prosecutor today.
But before the conversation goes any further, the footage is abruptly cut short as someone calls out, "Kelsey, we gotta go."
All right, guys. Good luck.
I hope his body turned. I hope y'all really didn't have nothing to do with that man.
I'm telling you, he's not.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, if y'all really cared about him, y'all be out here. I came from Cincinnati. I don't even know him. I came from Cincinnati to look for this. Why y'all ain't out here looking for y'all friend?
It is unclear what happened that could have alarmed Kelsey and her friends to leave in a hurry. But with all the stories Kelsey has told us about how people in this town were always watching or following her, it's not hard to imagine why she and her crew would be extremely wary of any bad signs. We asked Tania what she thought about this footage and the couple it depicts. Specifically, we inquired, does she think these two had something to do with Raymont's disappearance?
Yeah, and like I just said, my dad hasn't been doing any drugs lately. He's not. And even when he was doing drugs, it wasn't like that. My dad wasn't insane, crazy. He lived his lifestyle since he was a kid. So anything he's doing, he's pretty used to it. You know what I mean? He doesn't go crazy. He may get high and be a little weird, but he doesn't go crazy and he do things like that. So they said he threw his phones out the window and ran into the woods, and they looked for him and haven't seen him since. And I just think that was very odd because the last people, Connie said that her and my dad was on a trip. And then they came back and he left, was supposed to go to the store, and haven't seen him since. And then the police said they raided the house the day before he went missing, and one of the kids seen the drone outside running the house and told him that he ran off into the woods. So if you ask me, it sounds like everybody's trying to place my dad into these woods somehow, but none of the stories are adding up as to how he got into the woods.
While she was in town, Kelsey also decided to take a look at another sketchy location to try to find some clues: Raymont's former house. She said his old Cadillac from years ago was still sitting there. And when she went across the street to look at an address where Raymont had been caught on drug charges with Sean and Melissa Barker back in 2018, things got even weirder. She said she found it strange that this house was completely vacant. And what's more, there were bullet holes in the window. Kelsey later found a photo Raymont had taken sitting in front of the same window, presumably from 2018. But in that photo, there were no bullet holes yet. Kelsey knew that they could have occurred any time between 2018 and now. But still, she found this discovery strange and made sure to document it. After considering all the facts she had gathered on her trip to Pike County, Kelsey was more determined than ever to make concrete progress in this case. She was frustrated that all the telling footage and deeply concerning rumors she had reported were being dismissed by authorities.
And so now it's just like we got all these recordings of how many people chopped Raymont's body up into pieces and possibly fed him to hogs or put him in this lake or under this trailer, and we can't get anybody to go look.
We asked what excuse the police were possibly giving her to shrug off all these undeniable leads she was presenting to them.
Nothing at all. They don't have an excuse. They just said it takes time. They don't have... We actually had a private investigator go over to 55 Blaine Highway, and they called Ross County Police, because that's the county it's in. They told them if there's a smell emanating from this trailer and it needs to be checked. They won't check it. They won't check it at all. Yeah, it's crazy because we sent them recording after recording of all these people and all these screenshots of all these people telling us these things, and they still don't even check it out.
To make matters even more convoluted, yet another source told Kelsey a conflicting tale of what happened to Raymont and Kobe, one that didn't align with the timeline she had been able to construct thus far. According to this new story, the alleged witness accompanied Raymont to a meeting with Kobe, and the rendezvous was allegedly a drug deal. And the person who told Kelsey this account said it went south. Kelsey shared this possible version of the events with us, but she claims that she doesn't believe in its validity. Because in her words, A, Luke was Raymont's cellmate in jail. B, there is no connection whatsoever with Raymont and Kobe. Kelsey.
Now, the problem with Kobe Roush is, I talked to Kobe Roush's sister a lot, Danielle. And so we're kind of like torn in the middle because there's been two stories so far that happened. One is that this was actually a gang initiation for Kobe Roush, and he was given a task of killing Raymont, and he couldn't succeed at it, so they killed him too. A lot of people say that that's really the case, and that's really what happened. Then we've had two people tell us that Raymont and Kobe were actually together purchasing drugs from Luke Farmer and a guy they call, his real name is, and that the drug transaction went bad. I don't believe that for two reasons. A, Luke Farmer was Raymont's cellmate in prison, so I don't think that there would be anything shady going on because he knows this man, he knows he can come after him. B, there has been no connection whatsoever between Kobe Roush and Raymont Willis. No one has ever seen them together. They're not friends on Facebook. There's no connection at all that we can find. So I really believe that he was given a task to kill Raymont, and he couldn't do it, so they killed him too.
Kelsey seems to believe the original narrative that a gang initiation was the catalyst for both Kobe and Raymont's deaths. But with Kobe's known history of drug-related arrest, we asked Kelsey if she thought that gave stock to the drug-dealing version of the story.
He struggled with addiction, and they say that he was currently clean from meth, but they're not really saying. But Raymont was also a drug dealer, a big-time one, and he just started doing meth, supposedly, they say. I guess Raymont and Kobe supposedly had the money, and Luke had the drugs, and I guess Raymont wanted to see the drugs before he bought it, and he wanted to see the money. And they were making it seem like neither one of them trusted each other, so it was basically you die or I die. And they said that he pulled the gun out of his pocket, shot Kobe twice in the face.
We were understandably confused as to why the authorities hadn't acted on any of this evidence. If Kelsey had shared these rumors with them and all the intel she had gathered during her investigation, why wouldn't they be receptive and grateful for the amazing leads? The news station report we played earlier had emphasized that the Pike County Sheriff's Office was maintaining their stance of uncertainty about Raymont's status as alive or deceased. And what's more, they had apparently gone a step further and asked for assistance from the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigations. From all appearances, the sheriff's office seemed to be eager to solve this case, actively searching for a lead and even taking the initiative to bring in more investigators. But even now, months after the summer disappearance of Raymont and Kobe, virtually no progress has been made at all by local law enforcement. Kelsey said that she had reached out to countless media outlets to try to get attention on Raymont's story so that justice could finally be served. She told us, "I have only been able to get Channel 12 to air Raymont's disappearance. We actually went looking for him and was followed and threatened. We have wrote the Attorney General. We have exhausted every resource I can think of with no help at all. I believe more people will come forward if his story is aired on a podcast. Please help his daughter find answers and find whatever is left of Raymont's body. Please." The hole in Tania's heart from the loss of her father still hasn't mended, and she shared this touching story with us.
Me and my husband went to this used furniture store. We were trying to buy some new furniture for the house. And this lady, she walked in with like all these items she was actually selling, because you can like sell and buy used furniture there. And she came in with some items. She had a duck in one arm and she had that frog in her other arm. And literally, as soon as I seen her walk up, I didn't even know what she was holding, but something had my eyes on this lady. Then I asked her, I'm like, is that a frog? She said, yeah, I'm trying to cheat right off of you. I need it. I just felt like in that moment, God had given that to me, you know, because what are the odds I'm with me and her coming into the store at the same time and she's carrying a frog. And I sensed something. I don't know, I just sensed something. Before I even seen the frog, God told me to look for something, and I was looking for it. $6, and she don't realize that $6 means the world to me now.
Tania says she walked down the aisle at her wedding with a frog statue to feel in some way that Raymond could be there with her to share in this important life milestone. Although he wasn't in her life for nearly as long as she would have chosen, the days she had with her father were enough to show her how kind and true his heart was, and she misses him dearly. We are so grateful that there are people like Kelsey out there fighting for justice purely out of altruism and a strong moral compass to bring the truth to light. Our wish, which we no doubt share with Kelsey, is for Tania to finally gain the closure that she deserves. Our hearts are with Raymond and Kobe's loved ones, and we hope that the law enforcement will get to the bottom of this truly twisted case sooner rather than later.